Hello to you, Emmanuel Shachaf.
Hello, hello.
Identity, the quest for a better future for Israel, especially in these so intriguing times we are dealing with the new war. Your personal feelings are?
I'm pretty much in shock, despite the fact that I've been talking about this for years, anticipating something is going to happen, something big is going to happen. I obviously wasn't the only one, but it still hits hard when it actually happens, and especially since it happened to the extent that it happened, and to the many casualties we incurred, and to the terrible circumstances in which the people died. So it's a shock. It's a shock. Yeah, even though I anticipated something like that.
The shock is because it wasn't able to be seen so rough. The hatred, the despair.
I don't think that was less surprising. I mean, the fact that I always knew intuitively that you can't keep 56 years of occupation under a lid without expecting that it's not going to blow at some stage.
The despair.
The despair, and the fact that it blew in the way it did. It's very sad. It's the gruesome deeds that were done, but this this is what it's all about. The keeping everything under a lid and not doing anything about it causes terrible trauma to everybody. Okay.
And the New York Times had a very, very unique headline.
Yeah, the headline was attack, retaliation, war, and then what? Okay, that's the question. And then what?
So let's talk about the then what. According to your perspective, what is going to be the then what?
Then what will have to be negotiations. Okay, between whoever is left in Gaza to negotiate, and that will most likely be civil elements of Hamas. And the state of Israel and all international elements, because I think the international community realizes that they have to take part in this. They can't leave Israel in it, because we kept Gaza the way we kept it for 56 years, and that's what's the outcome, okay? And we didn't fulfill our responsibility as an occupational power.
People will say, well, it wasn't the same state of Gaza for the last 56 years, though, because we withdraw from Gaza and we let them to do almost whatever they want.
Well, that was I'd say, a fake withdrawal. The fact that we withdrew our forces from Gaza doesn't mean we didn't control Gaza. We controlled 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6 border passages on the ground. We controlled the access from the air. We controlled access from the sea. We controlled the population registry. We supplied water, fuel, and electricity. So you can't say that we didn't control Gaza just because we weren't sitting in Gaza.
So you're saying we created a big jail?
Yeah, it was a big jail to that extent. The fact that people could leave to some degree through Gaza, through Rafah to Egypt, also only with our approval, that was an unnormality. It was not a normal situation where you keep 2.2 million civilians under such a blockade.
And people that would sign now about going back to the normality that they knew for so many years, you're basically telling them today?
No going back to normal, because normal was not normal. The fact that we accepted normal before was unnormal. Okay, the fact that we were willing to live in a situation where Israel, with a GDP of $50,000 per capita, is living next to a place where the GDP is maybe $500,000, $600,000 per capita, and think that this situation is viable to any extent, that's just ludicrous. And we convinced ourselves that that's okay, and we can do it. And because Hamas is there, we don't have to do anything else. And this is the result.
You're talking about an agreement in which Israel is going to be part of the negotiation. Please help me by defining what kind of Israel, who is running the show in the Israeli government, who is really the prime minister?
Well, right now, the show is run by basically a committee, the cabinet, which includes now Benny Gantz and Gadi Eisenkot, and it's not only Netanyahu and his people. And in actual fact, it's more likely that the U.S. government is running it through the delegations they send. Blinken and Biden and Satterfield and all those officials who take part in the deliberations of the Israeli government, and also tell us to toe the line. Certain things they won't let us do
Because of the international law.
because of the implications. I think the U.S. government is not certain enough about Netanyahu that they will leave him on his own. They are afraid that he will go do things that other Israeli governments wouldn't have done. So he wants to make sure that he's in a bear hug, in a very close bear hug. And it's also, of course, very helpful that the U.S. government is there in order to prevent the involvement of the Northern Front vis-a-vis Hezbollah. And also from the aspect of the hostage negotiations. Okay, we have about 200 hostages in Gaza, and they have to be released. And to have the Americans with us is important.
What kind of releasing agreement would you visualize now?
The only way the hostages should be released, I think, is in a big agreement that includes everything, not only the hostages. Because one of the problems with the hostage release is what happens after hostage release. And if we are in a situation which is a very bad situation, then we have a hostage release and we go back to the very bad situation, we've done nothing. It'll be another opportunity to take hostages. We have to create a situation by which everything changes. The hostages will have to be released on both sides, and probably all of them, but after the hostage release, everything has to change.
And while you're talking about everything has to change, the federation movement that you've been leading for so many years, what's their perspective according to what is happening now?
I think it is clear that the movement towards regional autonomy is the way to go with regard to government. Gaza has to be regional autonomy. In Israel, in the Palestinian territories, there has to be regional autonomy for the Palestinians. There has to be regional autonomy for the Jews. And that has to be organized in the framework of a government, and that is a federation. Okay, so I see the proposal, the federation proposal, as being more likely as the time passes, as we see our central government falling apart in front of our eyes.
So basically, the federation movement is up and running nowadays in Israel without an official declaration.
Well, we have basically what's happening is that we have the regional government is organizing by virtue of the situation. Okay, central government in Jerusalem is completely incapable of doing anything. Most of the assistance and most of to the people, to the citizens, is organized by regional municipalities, by regional governments, and by regional citizens organizations.
Let's talk about the occupied territories, the other side. What do you think is going to be happening there?
Well, the situation is very bad there right now. The settlers are on the loose and are killing Palestinians, and that has to be brought under control as quickly as possible, because if that front blows up, in addition to what happened in the south, Israeli Arabs may also follow suit, and then we're going to have a civil war on our hands.
And the local Arab Israelis?
They are scared that there will be another Nakba. Okay, the Arab Israelis I've been talking to, I've had people break out in tears on the phone in fear of another Nakba. And
it means that they are afraid that they are going to be losing their homes?
yes,
in Israel.
In Israel, that Israeli Arabs are going to be pushed out in another Nakba.
You've mentioned that lightly. Let's talk a bit about Nasrallah, Hezbollah, Iran. Do you think that the northern frontier might be even more rough and dangerous than it is today?
There may be an open war in that front too. What is preventing it right now, I think, is the American involvement. I think the fact that the U.S. government is showing so much power in supporting Israel at the time is an element which prevents this border from flaring up even more. It cannot be discounted. But I think if we manage to finish the Gaza front quickly and we start going into a negotiating phase, I think it will be possible to maintain peace on the northern front.
You know, always towards the end of the report, you're mentioning an upside, something during these days that you think is creating any kind of hope.
I think the upside I can see is that Prime Minister Netanyahu basically has been removed from power. He's not in actual fact in power. We've seen it when the U.S. representatives, when Blinken came here and Satterfield came, they were sitting outside waiting for Netanyahu to show him the agreed upon decisions of the government. I think the U.S. government is taking a hands-on approach. Netanyahu is basically not in power anymore. He doesn't sound like a leader. He doesn't act like a leader. He's not a leader anymore, and that's a positive development because I don't think he can contribute to the closure of what we have to do in the following years with the Palestinians and with Gaza.
Emmanuel Shachaf, looking for the new identity of Israel, especially after this October war of 2023. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.